James Sykes, CEO, President, Baselode Energy. All right, we're going to have another update. Going to continue talking about this clay alteration story, but we're going to tackle it from a different point of view. We love the visual massive clay alteration, that blue in that cross section. That's what it's all about. That's what gets us encouraged. We see that it is the right type of illite, so the clay species of interest, and it is the right type. We see that lead isotope fingerprint with the most anomalous smack dab in the middle of the clay alteration. We see the heavy hydrothermal heavy rare earths also within that fingerprint in the middle, and we see boron overprinting everything. Those are all very important pathfinders, but how do they actually help us find uranium? Because not a single one of those words have the letter U in them except for the word anomalous. So how do these things really help us find uranium? And that's what it's all about. We want to find the next big uranium deposit, so we want to use as many things as we have available to us. So we're going to start in the clay alteration area. We're going to work backwards. We're going back up to ACKIO this time, 5 kilometers to the north. And in particular, we're going to focus on hole 30, AK2230. It's a non-mineralized drill hole. It is about 50 meters from mineralization in two directions, to the west and to the south, and between 225 and 255 drill hole depth, so a 30-meter window, there is a significant amount of white clay alteration that has us very interested, similar to what we see in that clay alteration area. Going to take a cross section through this drill hole area, and this is what the cross section looks like. There's hole 30, there's the clay alteration area, and the drill hole is 50 meters away from mineralization. That's what the clay alteration looks like. Very encouraging. And that's what the clay alteration looks like in hole 16 in the clay alteration area. That's the two of them combined, or side by side. They both distinguish white clay. They both have that white clay alteration. They both have thick intervals of remnant purple hematite, and they also have smaller, thinner intervals of red overprinting hematite. Hole 30 at ACKIO on the left. It's a 30-meter window between those two red blocks. And then the clay alteration area, hole 16, it's 140 meters wide. I'm only displaying 100 meters of it right there, ending at that red box in the far bottom corner. It's the size and scale at the clay alteration area is impressive. And that's why we really like it. The thing with ACKIO though is that it's a chlorite monster. The predominant species, clay species in this area is chlorite, not illite. So it's very hard to find these small windows of illite. Basically, if you put a drill hole anywhere in this green circle, you'd be expecting to find a lot of chlorite. So illite's very rare. When we do what we did with the clay alteration area and we scaled everything back, we said, okay, let's look at all the samples with over 90% illite. And we're doing the same thing here at ACKIO. Only 1.5% of all samples came back with over 90%. So again, demonstrating that chlorite is dominant. Of those 84 samples with over 90% illite, 3 of them, so 4%, come from this alteration zone. This alteration zone represents a 0.1% of all the drilling that we've done at ACKIO. So again, I can't explain it better than it's a window of illite within a sea of chlorite. It is just this tiny little window that we can take out of ACKIO and compare it to this clay alteration area. The reason why we do have so much chlorite in the area is because of this green unit, this calc silicate mafic unit. Just the amount of magnesium that's in there it's all been hydrothermally remobilized and alters the rocks around it. So we've got a lot of chlorite. So it's kind of peculiar to see this window of illite, but if you see those dashed lines coming through right there, there's that V-shaped cross structure. So it's a good area for fluid movement. Within that clay alteration area, yes, we are seeing 90% illite. We've got a 6-meter window of it. Awesome. If we increase the amount of illite we're allowed to use, we get a broader window. So yes, we're seeing illite in this area. Good. Awesome. Is it the right illite? Because then, as per one of those last videos, we wanted to make sure that the right spectral wavelength was in the location that is synonymous with other uranium mineralization. So is it the right illite? And the answer is yes. The illite within here is the right illite, but we're also seeing the right illite up in the paleoweathering profile. So that purple unit there, that is beneath the sandstone being the yellow unit, paleoweathering being the purple unit, is anomalous with the right illite. It doesn't have 70%, so it wasn't it wasn't considered for the calculation just because of the amount of chlorite that was present could contaminate the spectral wavelength, and you may not come up with the right illite. In that previous presentation talking about the clay alteration and illite, I had made note that there was an interval at the top of those drill holes that all seemed to have a lot of illite, and it seemed to be the right type of illite, and it looks like it's a paleo weathering profile. So seeing that also at ACKIO does kind of does kind of emphasize the same thing that is going on here. Lead isotopes, let's look at those because they were very encouraging and got the ball rolling on this clay alteration area. So in the top part of the drill, beneath at the unconformity down to the clay alteration area, it's anomalous. Oh, sorry, it's not anomalous, but it's has the lead isotopes are demonstrating that they're on a uranium pathway, that there should be uranium in the area nearby. The clay alteration area itself has above background lead isotopes, so it's still encouraging. It's better than nothing, but it's not red. And the rocks beneath the clay alteration area are also red. So the whole drill hole in itself, that's being red like that, that's a halo feature I've seen on other deposits. So I'm encouraged with that. Even with that little skiff of green being in the area of interest, the fact that the entire drill hole basement rocks are all red, highly encouraging. Very excited about that. ACKIO, boron, greater than 200 parts per million. Do we have it? Yes, we've got a smaller window of it right there in the clay alteration. So seeing those similar characteristics. We're also seeing it up there in the paleo weathering profile. That paleo weathering profile just seems to keep popping up. Heavy rare earth oxides. Do we have them in the clay alteration area? The answer is no. No, we do not, but we do have it near the unconformity in the paleo weathering profile. Very curious. Very curious that there seem to be more pathfinders in the paleo weathering profile versus the clay alteration area. The clay alteration area is missing the lead isotopes, but again, the entire drill hole really accounts for that being a encouraging thing. So just because it's not in that little interval, that structure, doesn't mean too much. And without the heavy rare earths in that clay alteration area, do those what do those really mean? Heavy rare earths, there's no direct correlation between uranium and heavy rare earths. So that clay alteration is still lit up in the most important things, that visual massive clay alteration, the radiolite, and it does have boron, yes. The paleo weathering profile too also lights up, which was not expected, but again, it's still encouraging. So if you start putting the idea that these are all along a fluid pathway system, that they're not directly to uranium itself, but they're related to the fluid and the structures that can carry uranium, then we can come up with some ideas that maybe the uranium bearing fluids came down in certain directions along certain structures and just dropped out uranium. And we can use that information to identify which structures could preferentially control the mineralized fluids and which wouldn't, which dictates where to explore and how to advance these areas in the future. So, big hats off to the astute viewer who noticed that the mineralization down near the bottom of the drill hole didn't light up in anything really. Yes, it had lead isotopes, didn't have the right clay, doesn't have massive clay, no boron, no hydrothermal heavy rare earths. So it really doesn't have a lot of pathfinders. So how can we be that close to mineralization and not have any pathfinders? That's the scary part of exploration, right? In the end, the best pathfinder for uranium exploration is uranium. There's nothing better than it. So just showing the drill hole here and where the uranium above 10 ppm really occurs, and just doing composites between those intervals, we can see that the clay alteration area really pops out. What I'm not showing on there though is the bottom of the drill hole results. That's the real Kaiser Soze moment of all of this, that even though it didn't have any of the usual suspects, it has uranium in it. It's not something to go screaming and jumping for joy about. It's not 2%, 5%. but this is the type of uranium, this is the concentration of uranium that's used as a pathfinder to follow the right structures that can get you close to it. So, what do the pathfinders really show us? They can get us into the area, they can get us within hundreds of meters, type of idea. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make us tag uranium. They could be barren systems, which is scary. Best pathfinder to find uranium is uranium. And we're going to apply that next. In the next video, we're going to apply that uranium principle to the clay alteration area and see what we can see from those results. We received 40 samples over the past week. We dropped 1% of the amount of samples that we're waiting on. So there's no real update. We're 28 to 30 weeks from when we dropped off the samples, still waiting on a lot of critical holes, especially the ones to build up the rest of this clay alteration area. Baselode's part of the work group of companies. Forward-looking statements as I've made them, and please feel free to contact us via email, jsykes@orggroup.ca. I'm always happy to talk to people, just meet new investors. Anybody who has an interest in anywhere we can go with these videos, yes, please drop me a line. Would definitely love to hear you and come up with some new ideas. All right, thank you for watching. Take care.